Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm so glad that you're listening in. I really appreciate you. And today we're celebrating episode 250. So that's right. This is episode 250. We've been doing this for over 4 years now, getting close to 5 years every week. And today is episode 250. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And as I've said before, you helped us get ranked in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. So we've been doing that for 250 episodes, and I really appreciate you for doing that. And over the episodes, over the time, people have been wanting something they could do on their own time and take what they're gleaning and learning and being encouraged and inspired from the podcast to the next step. So I've been listening to people and they've been wanting something they could do on their own time, but still have me as their guide in the process and do it in a way that doesn't take a lot of time and doesn't break the bank. And so I listened and I created something that does just that. So stay tuned to the end and I'll tell you more about it, how you can get it. But for now, let's get into the episode for today. Because today's episode is about when you're at a career crossroads and don't know what to do next. You know, a lot of high achieving women reach a point in their career where they're successful on paper, but unfulfilled, and they find themselves standing at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. And they are women who have built their career on what they were told they should do and what they were supposed to do. They have the title, the recognition, the security. From the outside, it all looks good, maybe even enviable. But on the inside, something feels off. Something brought them to that point of having that feeling, to that career crossroads. So this might sound familiar to you. You may be able to relate with it. It might be something you've experienced. Maybe you like them. Maybe you've recently reached a milestone birthday, maybe one that ends in a zero. And maybe you thought you'd feel proud getting to that point, but instead you feel restless. Maybe you faced a big transition in your life, a loss through grief or some other form of loss, maybe a big change in your career, one way or another. And now you may be feeling what once fit just doesn't anymore. Or maybe you're just like so many high achieving women, you're realizing that success without fulfillment no longer feels like success at all. And you are quietly wondering and asking, is this all there is? Somehow deep down, you're feeling that there's more than this. I'm meant for more than this. And that's because you're at a career crossroads. All right, so now let's talk about what this career crossroads really means. The career crossroads moment is your inner life tapping you on the shoulder saying, you've outgrown this version of success. And it's not a failure, it's growth. You are growing more into who you are at this time in your life. A career crossroads moment comes at the intersection between outer accomplishment and inner truth, between who the world expects you to be and who you know yourself to be. And during a career crossroads moment, most women I talk to who are in that moment say the same thing. I don't know what I want to do next. They say, I'm confused. I just don't know what to do next. But here's what I've learned over the years. I've learned that it's not because they don't know what to do next. It's either one of two things. The first thing it may be is the reason why they don't know what to do next is because they don't know what they want. They don't know what they really want. So that's one thing. It could be that. Or the other thing I found is when they don't know what to do next is this. They know what they want. But when they slow down, often they find underneath the confusion of not knowing what to do next, they find that really underlying that is fear. And the fear is of going after what they want, pursuing it. And the fear of pursuing it or going after it is keeping them stuck, keeping them from moving forward. Okay, so let's name what fear actually looks like. Okay, here's what fear looks like. Fear rarely looks like fear. Let me say that again. Fear rarely looks like fear. So you don't recognize it because it doesn't look like fear. Sometimes it hides behind overthinking, where you might be saying something like, oh, I'll move forward, or I'll do that, or I'll get started once I'm absolutely sure. Or sometimes fear masks itself as busyness. So it's just busyness wearing a mask. And you find yourself saying something like signing up for one more project or one more certification or one more whatever it is. You just sign up for it and do the thing so you don't have to face the bigger decision. And sometimes fear even wears the outfit of perfectionism, continually tweaking, polishing, preparing, doing instead of releasing. I used to think I had to get rid of fear before I could move forward. But now I know you don't have to wait for fear to leave. Once you recognize what it looks like, you don't have to wait for fear to leave. You move with it. It's the only way to take the next step is to move with it. We've heard this before, but it really is true. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's deciding, it's deciding to feel the fear and still do it anyway. And it's deciding that your growth matters more than your comfort. And sometimes what's shaping our fear is not even what we think it is. And honestly, some of this fear isn't even ours. It's the echo of expectations we inherited. It's the voices of others who helped shape us. Maybe it's our parents or mentors who told us to choose something practical. Like in my case, you may have heard the story in recent episodes where I talk about starting my first professional career in a bank and in a leadership position that really didn't suit me, to say the least. It was so against who I was. Nothing wrong with working in a bank or a leadership position in that way. It just was not who I was. But I ended up in that position because I had majored in business in college, and I majored in business in college because my mother said, you should major in business because that way you'll always have a job. Now, fast forward, back then, I didn't align that business with the right role for me. But today I'm reconnecting with my business sensibilities and enjoying it. But back then, I didn't know that I was being guided by my mother's voice. I thought that was something I wanted to do. I mean, I know she suggested it out of the, out of her sense of wanting the best for me. And I thought, yeah, that's mine. But now, and looking back, I realized that her saying, major in business and you'll always have a job. And then when I'm in the bank in a role that was getting to be just to the point where I couldn't even tolerate it anymore, there was some underlying fear, the fear of the security of a job in a bank and that particular job. And so maybe you have inherited some fear from other people's expectations. Maybe your culture or your faith emphasizes security and service over personal joy. Or maybe colleagues or friends have come to expect your success. And I would say, even family, maybe they've come to expect you in that role. And stepping back would confuse them, you think, or disappoint them. or you have the fear of disappointing them. Now let me say all these voices, these people, these expectations, they're not bad in and of themselves. They're not bad. They helped us become who we are. They helped you become who you are. But here's what I want you to hear. They don't have to decide who you will be next. They don't. And we have a prime example of this in our next episode. Our next episode, I spoke with a guest, and so you'll have to stay tuned for that because this it really illustrates this beautifully. And we've heard from other guests, but this one in particular, she shared that she was, on the path to become a doctor because it was what her family expected, because it was part of their tradition, their culture in the family. But as she pursued it, she realized she was deeply unfulfilled and she didn't continue with it. She made that difficult decision and went against what her family expected of her. And she had a really interesting story. She felt like if I don't do this, if I don't do this, I don't have a choice. Like she couldn't be herself if she didn't make that move. So tune into the to next week's episode so you can hear more about that. But the reason why I'm talking about it now, because her story might sound like yours or mine. What I realized is sometimes we carry this invisible weight, and you may be carrying this invisible weight that comes with this fear that seeped in through other people's expectations. And the fear whispers things to you like, what if you disappoint people? And the expectation answers, well, I better not risk it. And sometimes between the two, your own voice gets drowned out. And that restlessness you feel, it isn't failure. It's your intuition calling you, calling you to be true to who you are. And by the way, this is something we'll explore more deeply. I told you about, when you stay to the end, I'll tell you something I want to offer for you to help you get to the next step of clarity and how to really start to listen to your own voice and move confidently with that. So I'll say more about that in the end, but I wanted to mention that here. All right. So now, before clarity comes, though, we're talking about how to get clear. We know the fear's there, that awareness helps. But once we're aware, how do we know? Like, how do we know what to do next? Well, there's some things that come before getting clear, before getting clarity. There's like pre-steps, and it begins with reflection. Before clarity comes reflection, but before reflection comes space. So you have to create space for clarity, space and then reflection. Most of us are so busy doing, producing, performing that we rarely stop long enough to even hear our own thoughts. So before you even try to figure out anything, start smaller. Start by creating room for clarity to find you, so to speak. Take some time, block out maybe an hour this week. That's just for you. No meetings, no emails, no multitasking, just space. And just take some time and notice where you feel calm, the things, activities, ways where you feel calm, or where you feel most alive. Maybe it's your car on a quiet drive, or early mornings before anyone's awake, or during the evening on a walk. Where you create space for clarity, that's where clarity tends to meet you. And start a whispers list. Every time you feel a little tug, that gentle inner nudge that says, I know I'm meant for more than this, or that says, there's more than this. Write it down. Don't analyze it, just capture it. Because before clarity comes the pause, before decisions becomes awareness. You can get to action once you have awareness. So once you start noticing those whispers, ask yourself, what's just one small thing I can do? Just one small thing I can do right now. Maybe it's scheduling a conversation with someone doing work that inspires you, or maybe it's researching programs or opportunities that align with what really lights you up. Or maybe it's journaling each morning about what fulfillment could actually look like for you now. So the point I'm trying to make here is clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from moving. It comes from moving. Be still and then do the thing, the action. That's what I mean by moving. Every aligned step makes the next one clearer. Okay, so now if you're saying, okay, this is good for now, but I really like a little more. Well, if you would like more help on to take your next step, this is what I was talking about earlier. I will walk you through what your next move will be, what your next right step will be when you're at a career crossroads and you don't know what that is. I created a program for you that will help you know exactly what your next right step is. And the course is called Clarity for What's Next. Clarity for What's Next. And it's an audio course. It's short, on demand. It helps you get clear on your next move, and it does all of this in about an hour. So you can finally do work that feels like you, work that's meaningful, energizing, and aligned with who you are. As I said, inside, I'll walk you through the process step by step. You'll discover what's true for you and see your next right step with clarity and with confidence and purpose. And together we'll build a 30-day plan for you to move forward. So if this sounds like just the right move for you, then go on over to Leadership Purpose Institute, leadershippurposeinstitute.com/clarity. Let me say it again, leadershippurposeinstitute.com/clarity. Go there and you'll get all the information because your next step deserves more than guesswork. It deserves clarity. And keep in mind, you don't need to see the entire path. You just need to take the next aligned step because clarity isn't found. It's built through those things we talked about here today, through awareness and through movement and building trust in yourself. So I hope to see you there. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin.